Hello, Crowd Tactless. You are now flipping over to the B-side.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Crap Tactless presents B-Sides, where we dig through the streaming pile of crap that the internet has to offer to find that rare gem. Although this time we didn't really do any internet digging, we went to the theater and did some digging. Before we get to that, don't forget to like and rate us wherever you listen to us because it really helps get the Craptactless word out there. This is Dave, and with me are my uncrappy co-hosts,
Tara.
And Adam. It's Nic Cage! In the unbearable weight of massive talent.
That was a lot, Adam. We're not going to lie. But you know what? On theme for the movie.
Thank you.
Here is how Google describes the movie. Unfulfilled and facing financial ruin, actor Nicolas Cage, played by Nic Cage, accepts a $1 million offer to attend a wealthy fan's birthday party. But this isn't any regular fan. This is Javi, Pedro Pascal, a suspected arms dealer and kidnapper of the president of Colombia's daughter. Things take a wildly unexpected turn when a CIA operative recruits Cage for an unusual mission. Taking on the role of a lifetime, he soon finds himself channeling his most iconic and beloved characters to save himself and his loved ones from the unbearable weight of massive talent.
Well, first of all, we went to the movies for this. Is this the first movie you've seen in the theaters since... For me, it's my third movie I've seen in the theaters since the pandemic started.
Yeah, I'm on second or third.
This is actually my third. We saw James Bond. We saw everything... Oh my god.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah, and this was our third movie. Oh my god.
Yeah, but this was the first time the Cinema Craptactless team went out to the movies together, and I thought that was fun.
It was fun. It was a great idea.
Thank you.
Was it your idea, Tara?
I don't think it was.
No, it was my idea.
Oh, it was Adam's idea.
That's why I said thank you.
Well, I totally gave the
credit
credit to someone else.
You mean
Adam.
somebody
Welcome
else? You
to
mean
Hollywood.
the only other person on this podcast? Me? Yeah, you almost gave it to me. No, it was. Listen, I was gonna say, like, when we first started this podcast 67 years ago, I think that was eventually the idea that we would watch these movies together, but then we just didn't, and so this is oddly our first venturing together.
Yeah.
For me, the oddest thing about being in the theater was sitting still for close to 2 hours.
Sure.
Like, not just still, but sitting in my seat for 2 hours. I was getting really fidgety.
You were like, Dave was sitting between Adam and I were fighting directly over him.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it just got
They
really...
were thumb wrestling.
Yeah.
What, they were going over the top on me.
That's true.
Nice.
I did win an arm wrestling match with Adam.
Oh, you were totally Stallone. You were totally Stallone in that situation.
Hey, Adam, give me your arm.
I will say that it was, like, to not have other distraction. You know, like, not long before this, I actually went to a basketball game. And for the first time, I wasn't, like, looking at my phone or turning to have a conversation with Mandy or petting a dog. I was focused on the movie and the screen for a solid, whatever it was, 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was refreshing.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting observation because, especially with like my job, and because of pandemic, I notice it now. Like, I notice not being able to look at my phone, and it's like, am I addicted, or is it also just like this idea that we're always available? And it's like, oh.
But I also think it's become a coping mechanism for a lot of people. Like that.
Yeah.
Like, look, if I am overwhelmed with stimuli from the outside world, I can disappear into my phone and I can reset and then come back to the outside world. Like, I feel like a lot of people are dealing with that. And so it was kind of nice and at the same time unsettling to be completely removed from, I could not escape. I had to be present.
Yeah.
I also
true.
tied you down, Adam, for no reason other than I thought it was funny.
I mean, you did film it and say you were putting it up on OnlyFans, so I thought there was a reason.
I haven't made any money on it, by the way. I thought it would do much better. better.
Wait, but I signed up for that yesterday, right?
Yeah, free subscriptions don't count, Dave.
They don't.
Oh, that's right. I had the code. Tied up Adam. Oh, shit. I should have said the code.
Oh, no.
But another observation about seeing this movie together and seeing this movie with a group of people wherein we have to pay attention. Now it's not like you can pause it or you can get distracted or look at your messages or whatever.
Yes.
Is that this was very much a comedy, right? And
Yes.
I have not, except for like the couple of shows I've done, have not experienced people in a room experiencing and laughing together at the same thing. And I was like, is this the funniest movie I've ever seen in my life? Or is it just there's something like are you just like endorphins and like all your serotonin is just dropping wildly because there's people around you that are equally enjoying this experience and the things that are happening on screen?
Kind of in that same lane was that I don't like going to the movie theater because I don't like other people in general. Like
Sure.
People pull out their phones and my eyes just like are magnets to light, and I always find it very distracting. This one, everyone was there to see the movie, and that's a compliment to the movie because nobody checked their phones while we were there, unless they did behind us and I didn't know. But I just think that's a really impressive feat.
Yeah. Well, something else to be said about seeing a movie in a theater. It's really hard not to be engaged because that screen is freaking huge.
Yeah.
The music was pumping. The speakers are gigantic. Like, to not be engaged is very difficult.
Yeah. I will also say, Dave, it's a condition which I actually have. Is like I have some knee issues, and it's like called like I forget what the doctor told me. It's almost like it's called like movie theater thing. Like it's like you can't sit in because I have to shift all the time because my knees will start to hurt. But it's actually a condition, and I think they call it like movie knees or so. I forget what it is, but there is an actual thing that like you can't people who can't sit still for that full amount of time, and I've never.
Are you sure it's not old age? It could be old age.
My name is Adam. Yes, of course it's old age, Adam. My knees didn't rub together when I was 20, like bone on bone.
We should talk about the movie, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. First of all, I just want to say, going into, I don't know what I expected, but Adam or Tara, you said this was a comedy. I was expecting a comedy, but more along the lines of like adaptation or Spotless, Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, where it was a very kind of surreal comedy. And this was straight up a comedy.
Yep.
It was pretty much a buddy comedy, I guess.
Yeah. And so Nic Cage, Pedro Pascal are the leads in this movie, and their chemistry was friggin' amazing.
It was
like,
perfect. It was like perfect.
Yeah, so Pascal's playing a huge fan of the actor Nic Cage, and I like to believe that Pedro Pascal actually is like a gigantic fan of Nic Cage. Like, he's like, oh my god, I've watched Con Air 6,000 times. I would love to be in a movie with Nic Cage. Like, that's what I'm hoping was the act, because their chemistry was fantastic.
Do you want to be Pedro Pascal?
What was his name? What?
Wait, what is it, Dave?
Pedro
I would love to be Pedro Pascal. I would.
Pedro Pascal.
I'd love to be in a room with Pedro Pascal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we get it.
Okay,
you don't need to make the finger motion.
The
finger motion was not necessary.
Make that finger motion because it wasn't even like she was pointing her finger up in the air.
Yeah, just like I was making a point. I was just making a point.
It was like you were miming for crazy people.
Well, yeah. No, I like you guys. I just knew that because I think Dave, you found this trailer a while ago, like a number of months ago, and you sent it to us, and I was like, oh my god, I actually don't think that there's been a Cinema Craptaculous movie in the theater that's actually so perfect for this podcast. And then until this one, and I was like, oh my god, this is all the things that we need that checks off all the boxes. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be not great Nic Cage, and I have to say at every turn of this movie, it got better. The script surprised me. Like I was like, oh, oh, I know where they're gonna go, and they didn't. And I was like, oh my god! And it got funnier. It was just funny.
Well, and it was super self-aware, which I think really lends itself to this kind of comedy. Because when you have a star playing himself on screen, you have to be self-aware, and you can't just go straight up slapstick. You have to inhabit this world where this person exists, and they grounded Nic Cage in such a fantastic way at the top of this movie. Like first 10 minutes, you feel terrible for Nic Cage. You're like, oh my god, is this his real life? Like, I really hope it's not, because Jesus Christ.
But it's also, I think they did a really good job of really playing to the expectations, especially people not in the industry who probably think like, oh, he's kind of a washed up loser, he's a B movie star, this, that. And so they played to that exact thought process and called it out to a point where you're like, oh wait, I don't want Nicolas Cage to be somebody I make fun of. Like, I want to root for him. I think they really did set that up very well.
And they also humanized him in a non-Hollywood sense by giving him a wife and a daughter. And
ex-wife.
Ex-wife, you're right, sorry, and a daughter. And one of the big, reoccurring things in this movie is that Nic Cage is kind of trying to force what he likes and what he enjoys and his passions onto his daughter. And I think doesn't matter if you're in Hollywood or not in Hollywood, that's something people can relate to. And that kind of miscommunication with a parental unit or with a child. And it just made it all the more accessible.
And it did. And it gave him, it gave the audience a reason to like him.
Yep.
Yeah.
They found empathy or sympathy with him through that very kind of basic storytelling method. The other thing he needed is a bunch of orphans who wanted to save the ballpark down the street. And that's why he needs the $1 million.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, no, I just wanted to end my sentence with,
Perfect. Then you did a great job. Well done.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Perfectly done. Well landed. Adam, I was just going to say, that to your point of like the self-reflectiveness of this movie, I am very much not a fan of that type of movie. Like, I remember when Scream came out and everybody was like, oh my God, it's so funny. And they like talked about I was like, I saw the movie with my friends and I was like, I enjoyed Scream. I'm not going to say I didn't like Scream, but that element, it didn't work for me and it bothered me. And I feel like I can't actually think of another movie that did that I really, really was like, perfect. I enjoyed it. This movie, though, I thought did it flawlessly.
So I hear what you're saying, Tara, and I don't think it's self-reflection I was referring to. It was self-awareness. And the difference for that for me is like, let's take Velocipaster or Black Dynamite, like these comedies that are aware what movie they are making.
Right.
And they double down on it. And, a little higher production value in this one than in Velocipaster or Black Dynamite. But that's what I meant when I said self-awareness. Like, I agree with you. I don't like the kind of meta-commentary on a genre. Like, I'm not a fan of that. Although, there is some of that in this movie, and I agree with you. I think they did it well.
I literally, usually, that's the thing that makes me go like, boom, I'm done. But I think every time they did it, it just made the movie, like, it made the storyline better. I was like, how is this?
I mean, at the end of the day, this is in a way kind of very much like adaptation in that it was a movie about making movies.
Right.
Yep.
And it was a movie about making movies made by someone who really, really loves movies.
Right.
And knew exactly how to guide the storyline. Because as soon as Nic Cage gets to Javi, played by who?
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal. I don't want to mispronounce it again. As soon as he gets to Javi wants him to read his script, and they start talking about movie making, and you kind of realize, like, I don't think I knew it while I was watching it, but it wasn't until the end where I was like, oh my God, we've been watching them make a movie the whole time.
Right.
And there's a lot of clever moments that wink to script writing. Like, there's one scene where they're on LSD, they're sitting around, and they're talking about, like, what the plot of the movie should be. And then they go, oh, and then we need some outside force to come in and move the plot along. And right away, Nic Cage gets a, like, ding on his cell phone. And it's the CIA saying, we need you to do X. And it was just, it was so cleverly done. And utilizing Nic Cage in this role, perfect person for the role.
Yeah.
That's true.
I also think in addition to, I thought the script was really, really good. I heard some other reviews that people were like, I wish they'd done more. And I'm thinking to myself, especially after we saw it, I was like, what more could you, like, it was literally like, there was twists and turns and things I didn't see coming. And I was like, I don't know what else what other avenue you could have gone down with the script. But as far as, like, character motivations and the commitment of Nic Cage and Pedro Pascal to what they were doing.
Oh.
I mean, honestly, I don't think there was a missed moment. Like, they really, the both of them, like, Nic Cage gave you all the Nic Cage you wanted, but also all the actor version of Nic Cage that you wanted.
Yes.
Well, and it's funny because Pedro Pascal, best known for playing the Viper in Game of Thrones. Like, in Game of Thrones, he was like this sex magnet, badass warrior. warrior who gets his skull crushed. And to see him play like a lovable Nic Cage sycophant, it was just so, like, honestly, it made me a little bitter because I'm like, you can't be amazingly attractive and a good dramatic actor and do stuff like Narcos and also be this dumb, lovable schmuck. Like, you gotta draw the line, dude. Draw the line somewhere. Give the rest of us a chance, you know?
And get to be the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That's right. He's the fucking
he's also
Mandalorian.
the Mandalorian. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
Man, pass around some talent. Like, don't hug it all to
bit.
yourself. You know, it's like, I also think that he worked in this role not only because he is a very adept comedic actor, who knew, right? But
Yes.
it's because we know him as a badass and we've seen him do it. So there's a few turns where you as an audience have to actually believe that he could be a terrifying person.
Right.
And you question it. You're like, oh, fuck, wait. He could turn in this movie at any moment and you buy it.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
Yes, and that's I think that's what was so great about the movie is how it keeps surprising you in the sense that not everybody is who they appear to be.
Right.
Yes.
I also think Pedro Pascal, brilliant chemistry with Nic Cage. I mean, just was able to match his insanity in a different way, but both of them were like just balls of crazy that you just wanted to keep watching bounce into each other.
Their relationship felt natural.
Yeah.
It didn't feel forced at all. So for the people who haven't seen this movie, Pedro Pascal hires Nic Cage to come to his birthday party. Nic Cage shows up and does not want to fucking be there. He wants nothing to do with the birthday party. He wants nothing to do with Javi, who is Pedro Pascal's character. And organically, over the course of like 48 hours, Nic Cage comes to not only like, but also respect and admire the character of Javi, most of which was done through the movie Paddington 2.
Wait, I think we need to diverge. We need to diverge. Yeah, and let Adam talk a little bit.
Adam audibly sobbed when they brought up Paddington 2.
So
he just went, I'm gonna cry.
I love this movie. He's right.
Not such a well-kept secret. I love Paddington 2. If you don't love Paddington 2, I will fight you. I have no problem killing over the quality
rip your
of that
eyeballs
movie.
out.
So in the movie, Nic Cage and Pedro Pascal are having that conversation of like, well, what's your favorite 3 movies? And Pascal gives 2, and Nic Cage is like, stop stalling, man. What's your third? And he goes, Paddington 2. At which point Nic Cage calls him an idiot, and then Nic Cage watches Paddington 2 and just starts crying his eyes out. Personally, I have loved that movie forever. I don't remember why I saw it the first time. It may have been like one of my students was like, Sensei, you should watch, Paddington 2. And I'm like, all right, and we'll talk about it next class. And I was the whole time just between laughter and tears. So Cinema Craptaculous recommends Paddington 2. I will officially say that for all 3 of us.
I haven't seen
Because if they disagree, I will murder them.
Yeah. On pain of death, we all love Paddington 2, I guess.
It's a very funny, cute movie. I cried.
Did you?
There you go.
I literally haven't seen it. You know why? Because I'm an adult without children. But that's
Tara? Tara, I'm telling you, watch that movie.
Now
watch
I have to
that
watch this movie.
Watch it.
I will.
Oh my.
Hey there, we'll be right back. And now, back to the show.
There's other actors in this movie I didn't know were going to be in it, which was Sharon Horgan. She plays Nic Cage's ex-wife, who I don't know if there's the show. God, what was it called? That she's
Catastrophe?
Catastrophe.
I love that show.
That show, it's like a sort of like a hidden little
that's-
gem, and she's so good. And I feel like, she was just given a, like, you're his ex-wife, you're in X amount of scenes, but she did what she does, and she just took those scenes, and she's like, oh, I'm going to make these mine. And she just was so, like, she's so cutting, and it's exactly what you want to see, because the other thing they played up, which I want to talk about separately from this, is that Nic Cage plays, like, at least from my knowledge, a very believable, bloated ego celebrity who tries to pretend that he's not, right? Which is so many celebrities of like, I don't want to toot my own horn, and then they proceed to toot their own horn for like 10 minutes. And she cuts that down so quickly and so beautifully. And I think she is as equally. And then Tiffany Haddish and
yes,
Ike Barinholtz.
Yeah.
I
will
CIA
say that.
agents.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
Tiffany Haddish was just in the After Party on Apple.
Yeah.
And she was so good in that. I don't know what it is. Every time I see her, I'm like, oh, I really like Tiffany Haddish.
I think it's because she's always been no bullshit. Like, you're just like, that chick's fucking funny. She could do anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, like, you know that, like, whatever you're going to see her on screen, it's like, well, that's going to be what she wants you to see. There it is.
And then with the Nic Cage's ex-wife, she was so great because from the very beginning of the movie, she had already had an ass full of Nic Cage, and you could see it in every scene. And she's just like, okay, I know who you are. I don't want to put up with your bullshit, but okay, keep going.
Yeah, it's one of those things that helped ground him, that helped make him
Yes,
believable and
yes.
real. You know, no one in this movie, except for maybe Javi, pumps up this guy's ego.
Yeah,
Everybody
that's beautiful.
cuts him down. Everybody's like, shut the fuck up, dude. You haven't, Con Air was how long ago? No one's seen Pig yet. It's like, just dial it down. And I think that's what made it such a great, made him such a likable character.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're
So,
right.
Adam, we touched on this very, like, lightly. We went to, had a little drink after the movie. And... or maybe, yes. Anyways, the fact that, like, this, Dave, as you said, this is kind of, on one level, a movie about making movies. Like, it's an insider, like, movie. And it just sort of, like, we were watching, and the three of us, like, we all loved it, right? Like, we were howling, laughing. We were, like, we were enjoying it. And so was the audience where we watched it, which was a theater in Burbank, California. And it did occur to me, is like, I wonder if this is, like, is this too Hollywood Insider? But I think it's one of those things, like, it's not, because Nic Cage is one of the most recognizable stars in the world and has been for, like, 30 years.
Sure. And I do think there are a lot of inside Hollywood jokes, like there's a SAG-AFTRA joke in there, and stuff that people who are not in the industry are not going to get. But Nic Cage as a commodity is not strictly a Hollywood commodity. He has become a global commodity, podunk, nowhere, middle America, south, northeast, Europe, China, doesn't matter, Australia. In fact, the movie opens...
What other countries can you list,
Keep going, Adam.
Uruguay.
I knew you were going to say that.
Good.
But no, the movie actually opens with the daughter of the president of Colombia watching a Nic Cage movie and being like, he is so fucking awesome. And I believe that. I believe high teenagers across the world are watching The Rock or Con Air.
It was Con Air. They were watching Con Air, and the best scene in the movie where he wipes off the bunny.
Yep. Yeah, that's my point. Like, they're all loving Nic Cage all over the world.
I also, off of that, I also really liked how they snuck in different moments from previous Nic Cage films.
Yes.
Like when he walks into the pool, that's a Leaving Las Vegas reference. Obviously the guns from that awful movie
National
that
Treasure?
Adam loves.
Face Off.
Oh,
Face
Face Off.
Off.
First of all, Face Off is a great movie, Dave. You're
Thank
wrong.
you,
God,
Tara.
you are so wrong.
John Travolta
You have no
and Nic
idea.
Cage switch faces. How could that be a bad movie?
I agree. I completely agree. But no, yeah, they do a great job of referencing other Nic Cage movies, and it makes you feel like a Nic Cage insider.
Yes.
Because what they do is they're making these low-key references that because everyone is so familiar with Nic Cage's career, you feel part of the joke. Like, there was even moments, like, they reference Guarding Tess.
Oh, so
and,
good.
Yes!
Which is
a good movie.
Great movie.
It is.
It's not a new movie. So what they
No.
do, and it's not one of his most popular replayed movies. It's a good movie, but it's not like often replayed on AMC. So they did the very intelligent thing of showing the clip immediately after he's watching himself, of course, in Guarding Tess. But again, it makes you be like, oh yeah, Guarding Tess. I remember Guarding Tess. I love that movie. And this guy's watching himself, and that's hilarious. Like, and it just again makes you feel like part of it.
My only complaint on that level is, and maybe I missed it, there was not one reference to Raising Arizona, his best movie of all time. And I think that was a misstep, or they couldn't get any, like, or they just couldn't.
That could be a rights issue too.
That's what I
But
thought.
I actually thought the bunny scene was Raising Arizona. I didn't realize that was Con Air.
It's Con Air.
Oh my God, he's gone through all this thing, and he says his bunny. It's all he wants to do is get back to his daughter.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, the trifecta of films that people love, Face Off, The Rock, and Con Air, are three films I'm not big fans of.
How do you disconnect person who hosts the Zoom?
Yeah, how do we end the Zoom?
What is the button?
Why do we not? Listen, Dave. I don't know
I'm gonna listen.
who
I'm
hurt
listening.
who hurt you. Let's talk about it now. I mean, Con Air isn't just like Con Air is one of my top 10 movies of all time.
Wow,
All time.
really?
God,
That movie
I'm
is so
horrified to see the rest of that list.
You should.
Paddington 2 better be on it.
It's not a-
Yeah.
Listen, if
It's
Paddington
number 11. I'm sorry.
if Paddington 2 can be on Adam's list, Con Air can 100% be on my list.
Yes, I know. I don't argue that. I just question you.
I would say the other trifecta of like classic Nicolas Cage movies are Moonstruck, Raising Arizona,
Yep.
and give me a third comedy he did that I can't remember right now. That
First bitten, once bitten.
no,
Oh.
no,
No?
Twice
I mean, it's
bitten?
not a bad one.
no.
I'm thinking like mid to late 80s movies.
Okay,
That's
yeah, I
what
am
was
trying to too.
do.
Anyways,
Like
anyways.
pre-action.
Yes, pre-action star. Still kind of. Oh, Wild at Heart. Wild at Heart.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's a
Wild
good
at
one.
Heart.
It's a good one.
There you go.
And just what you were saying about it, is this too inside or too Hollywood?
Yeah.
I think those parts are so kind of small, and that no matter whether you know that they're actually writing out the script to the movie that he's going to star in at the very end or not, you still get the humor of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like their relationship. Pedro Pascal and Nic Cage's relationship is just so funny that it eclipses everything else in a very good way.
Yeah.
Right. I will also say, I think this is less about being a Hollywood insider and more about being a movie insider.
Yes,
like someone
you're
who
right.
really
You're absolutely
loves
right.
film. Like there's this great moment in when they're on LSD again, and
It's a
there
great
is
scene.
a moment where they think they're being watched by two guys who are not watching them, but like they do that very typical cliche in Hollywood where they're like talking and then he goes to look at him and he's like, don't look at him. If you gotta look at him, laugh. And I'm not gonna spoil that for
don't.
you, but it is just like it's fucking amazing.
That
fucking
scene,
amazing.
that's the scene where I was like, oh, Pedro Pascal is too talented. It's not fair.
Yes, yeah, it really is. I mean, he impressively steals every scene out from Nic Cage, and then Nic Cage steals it back, and they're just like,
well, that's
and-
just
and
it. Like
it's-
no one was ever one-upping like that. It never
No.
felt like they were
That's it.
overstepping each
You're
other.
right.
Right. They were always complimenting each other in one respect or another.
It's really so hard to do a two-hander to pay it justice like that. And they
Sure.
both
I'm sure you've said that a lot.
You know what I'm saying? It is. You know why? Because one gets more attention, and because you're stronger on one side. There just is. It's just what happens. It's just your muscles just develop different.
I thought you went back to talking about the movie. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait, what?
I was talking about the movie, Dave. What do you think I was talking about?
Because one actor is stronger than the other.
That's
so
what I
they
meant.
steal
What
the
did you
scene,
think I
but-
meant, Dave? What did you
I don't know.
Scripts are also written that way on purpose.
Yes.
You know, there is the straight man to, you know,
Yes.
the wild card, and that's not how this movie was written.
No.
You're absolutely right. They were both the wild card.
They're both the and at times both the straight man. Like
Yes.
that's what I love. They trade it off back and forth depending on the scene. I mean,
Let's-
there's a total of one scene I didn't like in this whole movie, and
Oh.
that's where the Javi character has a conversation with his cousin. That was the only scene in the entire movie I wasn't a fan of. I thought it went on too long. I thought it dragged. It was a very typical villainy type of scene, and I'm sitting there going, why don't I? Because Nic Cage isn't in this scene. Oh, because there's no Nic Cage. And
I
like,
feel, interesting. I feel like that's what that scene was supposed to do, is to make you go like, oh, no, like, I get away from this scene, and like, get me back to the movie.
Getting back to Nic Cage. Nic Cage in awesome makeup. Oh my God, playing characters, guys. There's so many reasons for you to see this
that
movie.
scene, though. I forgot all about the. Oh,
I
God,
can't even tell you how many reasons there are to see this film. It's just lovely.
I read something where the filmmakers were talking about how if Nic Cage didn't do this movie, they were gonna ask Daniel Day-Lewis to play Nicolas Cage. And I was like, well, now I want to see that movie without question. But at the same time, like after having watched this with Nic Cage and Pedro Pascal, I also think that it's such a, my hat's off to both of them, because it actually, like talking about doing a two-hander again, it's because they were both so confident in what they were doing individually, and they trusted their scene partner, which I just don't think there's been a true comedy where we've seen that that's worked as of late, and it just worked so nicely.
Well, two-person comedies are rarer nowadays. Like, you don't have it. You have big ensembles, right? Or you got wacky leaders, but you never have a two-person. It's not like it's not like like Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd in
Trading Places.
Trading Places. You know, they don't have those movies. They don't have the Steve Martin, John Candy, you know, what is that? Oh
Planes,
my God.
Trains, and Automobiles?
Thank you, Dave, because I can't think of any titles. They just, that's just not in style. It's not in style.
You're right. It's usually like The Rock and 5 comedians.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Right.
yeah, right. But I would say like the two-hander I think that was the most successful that I can remember as of recent was the Melissa McCarthy, Sandra Bullock,
The Heat.
The Heat.
Yes.
I thought that one was pretty freaking like unexpectedly like, oh, like this is a duo I would watch do a lot of things. But again, individually doing their own thing and then coming together to like make it work.
And those movies do exist, like CIA with Kevin Hart and Essential Intelligence with Kevin Hart and The Rock. Those movies do exist, but they used to be like, this is the formula.
Yeah.
Follow this formula. And that's it's not so much. They're much less they're much more the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Oh God, Dave's gonna die.
Haven't seen this movie. It's inevitable. Haven't seen this movie. Would if they announced that there's going to be a sequel, would you be excited or be a little like, uh-oh?
I'd be very nervous.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Adam, let me remind you, Paddington 2! Not Paddington! Paddington 2!
Paddington 1, or Paddington, did not knock it out of the park, okay? Because, honest to God, I saw Paddington 2, and I was like, this movie's amazing, I'm going to watch Paddington! And I watched Paddington, I'm like, meh. So, they needed to step up their game for the second Paddington movie, you know? I'm not going to call it Godfather 2 or anything like that, but I am saying that, like, in this Nic Cage film, if they make a second one, I think they're just gonna fuck with. Yeah. They're gonna fuck with
Greatness.
the magic.
Yeah.
Like, I
what
hope they don't.
what if the two of them do another comedy, like a buddy comedy, like they play cops?
I'm okay with that.
I would watch it. I would have high hopes. However, here's what I think the better version of this is that we just let these filmmakers and these writers make another comedy. That's it.
Yes.
Like that's all it
Yes.
is. I don't need Nic Cage and Pedro Pascal to team up again to be hilarious sidekicks. Like, no. This was like beautiful. It was funny. It was all the things you wanted out of all the things you didn't expect would be in a movie. But it's like, because that's really that's a credit to the people that made this movie as well as to them. Like the script, the direction, every element was like so, like we were just thinking like even the DP. Like you can't shoot a movie like this, be behind the camera and not be funny because there's so many I would argue every scene there's 4 to 5 moments that relied on a camera angle or the right cut. Like it's just like it was so well like from top to bottom finessed.
Everyone was on the same page with this movie from the beginning. And I think that's what they put together, the team, knowing what this movie was, and that's why it flowed so well and worked so well.
Well, it's interesting that Nic Cage turned the role down a couple of times.
Yeah.
And
he did.
Then before,
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did.
And it was a note from the director that finally convinced him. I don't know what the note said, except for maybe, please, I need money.
Watch Paddington 2. And then...
Yeah, watch Paddington 2. That's all it said. And the other thing I read was Nic Cage wanted to play Javi and have someone else play Nic Cage. He thought that would be really meta. And then Pedro Pascal was cast, and he was like, okay, I'll play Nic Cage.
You know, guys, I think there's this reoccurring line in the movie that Nic Cage uses with Neil Patrick Harris, who's his agent, who I wish was in the movie a little more because I love him, but he did a great job for what he had.
Yeah.
But there's this reoccurring line that they have back and forth where one of them goes, we're back, and the other one goes, not that we ever left.
Right.
And 2022 might be the year that Nic Cage comes back in serious force. I mean, we started this year with Pig.
That's right.
Now we've got, the unbearable weight of massive talent. I mean, what's coming up next, Nic Cage? What's going on? Because crushing drama, amazing drama. Like, is there going to be a really cool action movie featuring Nic Cage? Like a really good action movie featuring Nic Cage? Like,
That would
what's
be
the next
nice. That would
It
be
would be
nice.
Maybe directed by Michael Bay or
one?
John Woo.
No.
Maybe Face Off 2.
I think that's already. Isn't there already a Face Off too? I thought there was a Face Off. Not with
Is
them.
there really?
I don't know.
Straight to DVD?
With other faces.
Let's hope so. I mean, it would be nice. Like, the other thing that I think is a nice reminder for all audiences is that they almost, like, in an accidental way, humanized celebrity in a way that kind of no other movie sort of has. Where
Absolutely
it's like,
true, yeah.
he's lived a life, like, where agents and people, they tell you all the time they love you and they love the work you're doing. Except the reality is, like, in the opening scene, he's having, like, his first scene is he's having lunch with, you know, a producer or a director, somebody he's trying to get a role from.
Oh, that scene.
And that scene
it
was
hurts
crushing.
Your soul.
God, it hurts so good. So anyways, the scene happens, and I won't blow it, but just know that, like, as an actor, like, so many of us have been in this sort of a scenario, right? And even at his level, he still has to, like, work. He still has to connect. He still has to sell himself as an actor. And to see him fail and also just understand that, like, for all the movies you may see Nic Cage in, he was turned down for 5 times as many. That you know, and it's just like there's a weird way of, like, being like, yes, celebrity is all these things and they get to do all this cool stuff. They are also people who have families, who are, like, who do need to, like, be brought back to their reality. I don't know. There's something about it that I think just did that well.
Well, it was one more, it's something that you don't normally see, and it was one more thing to put you on Nic Cage's side.
Right.
Yep.
Where they had to show that, look, he's a super international star, but it's not all gravy and tulips.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen JCVD, but it's the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. And he plays himself, and he talks about, you know, how he's getting older and he can't do these action movies as well anymore, and how, you know, I will take all this money, these, like, $1 million features, throw them all away, get me $10 million, make one good movie as opposed to, like, these 1,000 awful movies. And so you see the human side to the celebrity. You know, you don't see the fancy cars, you don't see the cocaine parties and the hot tub sex orgies. You see, like, people trying to be people and be successful, and they all have their little quirks because they're actors and artists and we're all broken in some way.
Yes.
But, you know, again, you're seeing them as human, which is really nice.
Well, should we rate this?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, we have a 3-tiered rating scale on Cinema Craptaculous. The top tier is Cinema Craptaculous. This is rush out and see it. The middle tier is Craptaculous, pretty good on a Sunday afternoon if you have a hangover. And the third tier is utter crap, hard pass. If you don't, I'll go first if you don't mind.
After you, sir.
This is a hard one for me.
What?
Because, no, just hear me out.
I will hear.
In the realm of Cinema Craptaculous, I usually see it as a movie that most people don't see good in, that I'm like, actually, this is pretty good. You should take a closer look at it. This is a straight up Hollywood movie. I'm going to give it Cinema Craptaculous. Go out and see it, because it is worth seeing. It's just so hard because, you know, when things like, is it on par with Velocipastor, which I think is the most Cinema Craptaculous of Cinema Craptaculous movies? No, it's way better. But in the realm of, and I feel like I need to say this because, you know, I'm always thinking like, is this movie just too good to review? And under the Craptaculous umbrella, I found this movie so surprising, mostly because I was expecting some kind of like headbender, kind of like Everything Everywhere All at Once, or adaptation, and it was not. It was just a straight up comedy, and I enjoyed the fuck out of it. Cinema Craptaculous.
Very nice, Dave. I mean, arguably, I would say, like, it is interesting, though, but the marketing of this movie fooled us into thinking it is a Cinema Craptaculous movie.
Yes.
So I think it did a good job. I'm easily going to give it Cinema Craptaculous. It's fantastic. High enjoy. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, Dave, like the struggle a little bit, but I feel like it still has the Cinema Craptaculous vibe around it. It's just done, like, it's kind of what we wish for so many of the movies we watch, is like what we, so many of the movies we watch, the element that's not there there is that everybody working as a team to make the
Yes.
same movie.
Yes.
And this is one where you're like, this script could have gone wrong, like in
Yes.
100 ways, in 100 ways, but it just didn't. So
Yeah.
go see it.
Yeah, Cinema Craptaculous. And Tara, you basically stole what I was going to say, which
Ha
which is, the things that I love about the good Cinema Craptaculous movies that we watch is that everyone is making the same movie on the same page, playing for the same team, and there's something to be said about a Hollywood blockbuster having those same traits because
Yes.
Yeah.
90% of films that hit theaters, the big Hollywood blockbusters, people are not on the same page.
No.
Producers are throwing weird shit in. The director is, masturbating like crazy. The actors only half show up. So to have a movie where I could picture every day those actors, those crew members, those directors, those producers being like, this is what we're doing today, guys. We're going to crush it. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pretend to say that there weren't hard days on set. I'm sure there were. I mean, running in those shoes in that one scene must have been really tough on Nic Cage. But still, at the end of the day, I have to believe that everybody enjoyed being part of something that was going the same.
Everybody was there to make Nic Cage look as cool as they think Nic Cage is. And I think that's
Yes.
also part of it. Is like, they're not like bagging on him. They are lifting him up.
They are celebrating him. It was
celebrating
all celebrating Nic Cage's career. And that was a huge kind of positive to it.
Agreed.
I just like the same respect from either one of you, just to lift me up. Like, actually lift me up because I'm tired and I don't want to stand up. from
Well,
this
Tara, I've
content.
asked you to pick me up for years. You just refuse to hurt your back like that. So I don't
I
understand.
have spindly little arms, Adam, and you are made of cement. So I don't know. I don't know how.
And
I would do
pig
that.
fat.
Yeah, I've been called a blockhead before. I've never been told I was made of cement. Thank you, I think.
I mean, there it is.
She just snorted.
I did. It's a good one.
Well, thanks for joining us on this Cinema Craptaculous journey. This is Dave, and ever present with me are...
Tara.
And Adam.
Adam fell asleep.
No, what are you talking about? You're the one who
No,
froze.
you froze.
Yeah, you froze.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I
you
heard
did.
it.
Yes, you did.
That's your fault, not mine. Zoom.
So it's both of our fault. Don't try to gaslight us, man.
I heard me.
My script isn't here, and it's fucking me up.
The professionalism of Cinema Craptaculous continues to astound and amaze.
Thanks for joining us on the script. This is David. Blah 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 blah. And remember, don't avoid that streaming pile of crap. Dive on in because you never know what you just might find. This was not a pile of crap.
We got it in one. We got it in one, everybody. Cut and print.
I don't know that we did get it in one.
We got it in about 2 or 3.
It's fine. It'll be great.
Thanks again for joining us on our Cinema Craptaculous Presents B-Sides Journey. Subscribe to Cinema Craptaculous on iTunes or Spotify. And if you weren't totally offended, or even if you were, please rate us on iTunes. It helps us get the Craptaculous word out there. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @Craptaculous.